Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Zip Knits podcast. I'm Kelsey and I'm one half of the dyeing team behind K-Zip Knits here in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, Canada. It's been a very long time since I've been on here and talked about knitting, talked about anything to do with yarn and all of that. So if you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, thank you for waiting for me to come back, and I hope that it's worth the wait. So I'm going to just do a little recap on life from the past, what is it? I don't know, it's over a year probably since I filmed, or about that. We'll talk a little bit about knitting and just about what you can expect from me online in the weeks and months coming forward. So thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy what we're about to embark on. So it's been a crazy time. Both last year, both Chris and I, my hubby, were victims, maybe not victims, but we we both had pretty significant injuries. Chris severed some tendons in his hand, which required surgery and many months of rehab so he could use his hand normally again. And then shortly after he finished all of his rehab for that, I went and shattered all the bones in this part of my arm. And so was in a cast for a couple months and then rehabbed that. So that kind of ate into my desire and time to be able to film and to talk to you guys. Also, I, starting this year especially, have really gotten back into doing my music, which has always been something I've been really passionate about and what I went to university for. But I have finally come to a place again in life where I was able to take on some more teaching and more performing, and so that has eaten up a lot of my time just as I've kind of gotten my private music studio set up and just all of the kind of things and footwork that come along with doing that, as well as still trying to dye yarn in the process and get that all out to you guys and all of those things, plus having, time to do things for me as well. So my apologies that we haven't been online lately for this, but I'm hoping that we can change that. I have a little bit of time in my schedule, and it might mean that we do shorter podcasts where I maybe just talk about one or two things that I'm working on, as opposed to, a 40-minute or 35-minute, something like that. So it might be more like 10, 15-minute things, just because it'll be easier for filming, easier for editing, all that kind of jazz. That being said, if you have specific questions or things that you want me to talk about, please put it in the comments. I would love to know what you would like to hear about, and I can try to cover that and whatnot. And yeah, so why don't we dive in? So I mean, that's kind of been my last year, is I've had injuries, Chris has had injuries, and now I'm just getting back into things a little bit. This spring was probably like where things really kind of got crazy in both the yarn and music world for me. I was up in Dawson Creek, both Chris and I were up in Dawson Creek for the Peace Fibre Festival in April, and we ended up bunking with my dear friend Brittany from Crux Fibres, and she hooked me up with a spinning wheel, and that has been dangerous because then I became obsessed with spinning. So I joined the Tour de Fleece with Melly Knits, and that just made the insanity all the more. And shout out to my Stash Dashers team from my Tour de Fleece experience, because we're all still in a chat together and we are heavily enabling each other. I went from basically being a brand new spinner, with the exception of like a couple kind of fiddling around with things over the years, but like basically a brand new spinner, to now I own a vintage drum carder and I have support spindles, which I am not good at my support spindle yet, but I'm getting good at my drop spindle, and I feel like I'm doing okay with my wheel spinning. So that's been a new deep dive for me this year, has been spinning, and then now knitting my spinning. So this is, we'll start with, I have a couple of works in progress. I think this is kind of backwards. Usually we talk about finished objects first, but we're gonna start with works in progress today. Or at least humor me with this one. So this is some of my hand spinning. We'll see if the camera will focus. This is one of my first, like, most even-ish ones. So this was a braid of Pullworth and silk from Crafty Jaks, who's a dyer out of the Lower Mainland in BC. And I love Pullworth for spinning. It's got a fair bit, I don't know if you guys can tell, but let's see if the camera again. Come on, dear camera. See, I'm so out of practice. There we go. Oh, and then it goes back to my face. But it's got like, it springs back a little bit, which is nice. So because I wanted to maximize the use of my Handspun, I'm just making some leg warmers. I didn't use a pattern for these if you want to make them. So these fit my calves and whatnot. So basically I wanted them to go over like my ankles and the tops of my boots kind of thing to keep my ankles warm. But I just cast on 52 stitches on, I think I did 4.5 US 7s, 4.5 millimeters, or US 7. See, I can remember how to do this. You just have to bear with me. And then I cast on 52 stitches. So, and then it's knit 3, purl 1. So you get this like more ribbed texture. And I basically just divided my skein completely in half, and I'm doing half and half. And then I don't know about you guys, but when it gets cold, my ankles always get really cold. So even though I have like knit socks and stuff on, but I get cold ankles. So I'm hoping this will solve my problem this year. So, but yeah, if I'll maybe put in the notes for you if you want to see kind of how I did this. But yeah, it's literally just, I did a stretchy cast on, I did a long tail cast on, so that way it would stretch lots. My goodness, can't speak. And I did a Jenny surprisingly stretchy bind off for the other end, and doing the same on this one. And yeah, so I think those will be nice. It'll be cozy. I'm pretty pleased. It's actually, I was quite satisfied with how it's knitting up and it's like striping a little bit. So, and I can take absolutely no credit for that in terms of, because I know you can, there's all this like way you can plan your spinning. So that way your yarn will either stripe or like for however you apply it and things like that. There was absolutely no thought put into that. I just spun it and then I applied it on itself. So there we go. But so that's one thing I've got in the works right now. This is kind of my mindless knit at the moment. And yeah, I've turned into a total spinning nerd. And it's delightful. And now I'm like, I must make a sweater or something that is all like where I've processed the fleece, washed the fleece, spun the fleece, dyed it if I decide to, and then knit it into something. That's like my goal, I think. Maybe that'll be my 2024 goal. Because believe it or not, 2024 is just around the corner. So I don't know, do you guys have knitting goals for the year ahead? Do you have any New Year's knitting resolutions? Maybe we'll have to get into that more as we get closer to Christmas time. But yeah, maybe we'll have to like plan some things. Oh, I should talk about too what I'm wearing. Because my hair is a total mess today, I pulled out this favorite toque of mine, so don't judge the hair, people. This is called Camas or Camas. I'm not 100% sure how you say it. It's C-A-M-A-S, as on the bottom of the screen there. And it is by Cory Boberg. But it's got this cool, just a really simple pattern. It's a really quick knit, really easy knit. It's a free pattern. And I did double check it because I made this when I went to Norway, which was like, because this was my Norway hat that I wore, is what I called it. And that's 6.5 years ago now, 7 years ago? 6.5 years ago, because I went the year after we got married and we just had our wedding anniversary. So yeah, but great pattern, especially if you have like that one special skein of like a loftier DK or a worsted. I had I think this was a skein of Malabrigio I had in my stash at the time that I was just like, the color was too pretty and I didn't know what to do with it. And then I was like, oh, perfect. A cute textured hat that's not like overly busy, but I like it. It's a nice kind of like lightweight one, especially if you're just like me today where you're like, well, I didn't shower today, so I'm just gonna throw something on my head. Voila. And it's got like, you can make it slouchy or you can make it more fitted. I tend to go for the more slouchy ones just because I have a lot of hair. And so they seem to like, I don't know, they look a little bit better and whatnot. And I apologize if sometimes I'm looking like right in the camera or sometimes I'm looking to just the side of it because I have like my little viewfinder that shows me what I look like. So I'm looking in that more than at like straight down the lens because I don't know, it feels better to look at my own face than that. So my apologies if it looks like I'm like bugging out at you. So that was my first, so what I'm wearing. See, I'm so out of practice. I'm like, hey, what was I wearing? I even have notes here. Do you think I'm following them? No, not at all. Okay, so, I was very, very excited back in the late spring, early summer. I was talking to Brittany from Crux Fibres and a couple of other friends, Oliver Rain Knits and Leanne from the Knitty Stew, and then also Loretta from the Knit My Way Home podcast. So we're all podcasters, but also all just fiber people who just love all things fiber. And both Loretta and Brittany live up in Whitehorse, and Brittany has some family that have an off-grid cabin. And so we got to go there and spend a blissful few days there, just knitting, spinning, hanging out, eating amazing food. We went for a little hike, just enjoying nature in fall up there. And fall in the Yukon, oh my gosh, it's been a dream of mine to go to the Yukon for years. And I don't think we could have asked for like a better time of year to be there. It was so stunning. It was nice and crisp and cool, but like still like everything was yellow and it was just, oh, I love nature, and especially this time of year is my favorite time of year, going into like fall into winter. It's, nothing makes me happier. I can start to wear my cozy clothes again. And I just love being outside in the crisp air. It's so good. So the first part of damage happened when we got to Brittany's because Leanne, Tracy, and we flew in the day before we went to the cabin, and we stayed at Brittany's place and we slept in her yarn room, which if you aren't familiar with Crux Fibres, you need to check her out. But so we all promptly, we got there midnight. So it's like 12:30 in the morning, 1 a.m. And we're like shopping for her yarn. So I think almost all of us cast something on in Brittany's yarn while we were there. But I have long been a sucker for Brittany's low mileage wool. So the idea behind her low mileage wool is that she works with a particular shepherd and her flock of sheep, which are like quite amazing. They're a Gotland, they have BFL Gotland? Yeah, BFL Gotland cross breed. And so Brittany knows everything. Like when you get your yarn, it has the name of the sheepies that are in the yarn. So she knows the sheep by name. They get processed fairly locally. Like she can track every mile that this wool has gone to be processed and everything. And I know she gets a little bit anxious about the price point that she has to put on it. It's $48 for a skein, but it's honestly worth every penny. Like the yarn is stunning. The fact that you can like really connect with the backstory of it and like just, I mean, it's Gotland and BFL. So those are already like what I consider a superior yarn to merino, usually, for myself. I tend to prefer those kind of breeds. There's just something really special about it. I don't know if you can see, but there's like, it's got this subtle sheen to it, which is stunning. It's maybe a little bit fluffier than it would be because it's been in my bag. But it's just, there's something really special and unique about it, and the fact that you can track every part of the process. It's like fast fashion versus getting, something from someone who's like a tailor who's like made it for you and knows where the fabric came from. It's like that kind of difference, right? As opposed to getting a commercially spun yarn that, maybe the wool came from like New Zealand, but then it was shipped to China where it was then, you know, treated with superwash and then shipped to whatever country where it gets dyed or gets its ball bands put on. So I think the stuff is really special. It's really cool. It's a very limited supply because it's based only on this one shepherd's flock. As far as I know, Brittany can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the deal. And she gets 2 clips per year. So there's usually like a fall and a spring clip. So this one is from, I think, the fall clip last year. Yeah, so this is the 2022 fall clip that I have. And I have the gray, a couple of the gray girls. So this is Spark and Emily, and I'm using them in combination with this yak fluff, which I also got from Brittany from inhaling the yarn fumes. So it's got yak, it's got silk, it's got a little bit of merino and some brushed baby alpaca, and this is her glacial melt colorway. And so I'm pairing the 2 of these together on a project that I cast on while I was there. Because when in the Yukon, it was also my birthday while I was there. So I was like, I can spoil myself a little bit. So I bought a bunch of yarn from Brittany because I love her yarn. I also bought this really cute bucket bag at one of the shops that we went into before we went out to the cabin. Is this cute? It's so cute. And it's got like foxes and skunks and bunny rabbits. It's just so good. It's so good. But so what I decided to cast on was I wanted something where you didn't lose the beauty of the yarn, but had some interest, because I didn't want to just knit something totally boring. So I've cast on a Moorland shawl, and I desperately need a longer cable. And I can't find any of my longer cables because I'm pretty sure they're all in projects. So, you know, I might have to order some more. We'll see. Anyways, so this is the Moorland shawl, and it's by Tania. Let me look at my notes. Tania Barley. I'll put it at the bottom. But it's got this cute little kind of gathered stitch detail on the sides, which have the stockinette panels. And then, so you cast on, you do like a garter tab at the top and then cast on. So it'll go out this way. And then I've just started, it's pretty adjustable, so you can make it bigger or smaller, but then I've just done, there's these cool cabled leaves that branch off of these columns that you make. And then it has this really neat detail along the whole edge of the bottom. So I'm doing kind of, they have like a small and a large size that are recommended, and I'm doing kind of in between. It's pretty adjustable. You just repeat the charts. Basically each chart repeat you do adds like another set of these. So I've seen some people do as few as like 3 sets of these, and then it's a really low shawl, and then I've seen some people do as many as like 12 if you go and look through the projects. So I think I have 7 or 8, can't remember. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7. So yeah, so I did kind of in the middle. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's awesome. With the yak fluff, you get the like little bluey bits that are kind of poking through, which is really awesome. I'm pretty pleased with it. I feel like the color is fairly well represented on here. I'll find out later when I'm on the computer, but I'm in the basement today filming because Chris is working from home, so I don't have the best lighting on the planet. I have like a ring light off to the side, and then I have an overhead light, but yeah, it's beautiful. I'm loving it. It's so lovely to knit. I've been sick the last week, so I have not knit on it because I'm at a point where I have to think a little bit, and I didn't want to mess it up. So that's where the leg warmers have kind of come in. But yeah, super great, super loving it. Highly recommend yak fluff and low mileage wool because it's so good. It's so good. Makes me so happy. Also, it smells like Brittany's house, and so it makes me think of Brittany. So it's like, she washes all of her wool, and I don't know what scent of eucalyptus she uses. I can't remember, but it's like, I don't know, it just reminds me of her house, which is like so lovely. So don't mind me as I just nerd off here and just like massage my shawl. But yeah, so those are a couple things I've been working on. I mean, those of you who know me from back in the day when I worked at Wet Coast, and we did our podcast, and then even from earlier days of my podcast on here, you'll know that I typically have way too many projects on needles at any given time. Like I have a few other things that I've started recently. One of them I can't talk about because, well, I could talk about it, but I can't show you on here unless I do a disclaimer, because it's we're doing like, it's like a Secret Santa that I'm doing with a bunch of friends, but we're doing their little pocket stuffies or edibles or creatures or whatever. So I can't show you mine on here until I've shipped it to my person. So what I'll do is I'll maybe talk about that one once I know it's already been received, and then film it ahead of time, and then I can add that one in later. But yeah, so that's one other thing. We had Knit City recently, so I usually try to knit something new to wear for Knit City each year. I attempted to do two things: a sweater for the hubby. It still needs sleeves, which is okay because it ended up being fairly warm, and an Aran weight colorwork sweater may have been a little too warm for Vancouver at that time of year, but I did finish this. Whoops, it's upside down. That's not gonna help you. So there you go. So this is called Geometry, and it's by Mini Me, so M-I-N-I-M-I, Knit Designs. And it's called Geometry because of how it's constructed. So you knit this front stockinette panel simultaneously with the back panel. And you work from two different balls of yarn, and then what happens is you end up like picking up the stitches up the side of the panel, you cast on for shoulders, and then pick up stitches down the back side of the other panel. And then you do the 3 needle bind off underneath once you get the arms kind of like where you want them. And it's super awesome. It was an easy knit. I would say that this would actually be a really good beginner knit, believe it or not. But it's super flattering. It fits me really well. I'm really happy about it. I've worn it a lot for teaching and stuff too this fall. I've had my students be like, oh, that's a cool shirt. Where'd you get it? And I'm like, oh, I made it. But yeah, super easy knit. I personally knit this because it was for Knit City and it was for me to wear at our booth. I knit this out of our Beach Avenue DK weight, and it used not quite 3 balls, which is pretty good because I have a 48, so I think I knit a 51-inch bust on this about, and it only took me 3 skeins, and it's not a crop, so it's like super good if you have just a couple of skeins of something, because I know a lot of people wouldn't be as tall, or as, because I'm also very tall, so yeah, I think this would definitely be a very quick and easy knit, even for those of you who are bigger busted like myself. I highly recommend it. I really like it. The colorway I used from ours is Douglas. It's an old dye lot though, so our colorway has changed around a little bit. This is like from my very original run of it. So it's a little bit deeper now, and I don't know if I have... We sold out of it. Let me see. Is this it? This is not it. So yeah, I don't think I have any in right now. I have to double check. But like for an example, oh, that's not it either. Never mind, can't show you an example. I was like, ooh, so handy. The yarn is right here. But no, that's not, I didn't have the right color. Anyways, so yes, but I did this in our BFL. It's a BFL silk combo. So good stitch definition, but still nice and drapey. And I love it, and I think it's kind of awesome. So, yeah, that's that. What else to say? So that's just kind of a little bit of insight into where I have been lately. A couple of things that I have on the needles. If you have things you'd like to ask, please put them in the comments. I'm gonna try. I have, with the exception of this week, generally speaking, I have a little bit more time once a week in my schedule where I figure I can probably sneak in a half hour, 45 minutes to do some filming and editing and whatnot. So we're going to try and do this as regularly as I can. I'm going to shoot for every other week right now, but as time permits, I might try and do once a week. We'll see. But yeah. So thanks for tuning in. And again, if you're new here, thanks for popping in. Feel free to subscribe down below. I promise to not be one of those people that uploads every single day. That will drive you nuts. with your alerts and things. And yeah, I want to hear about what are you guys making? Please let me know. I want to know what you're making. Yeah, hope you are all well, and happy fall, everybody. I know it's that time of year where we all start to be really excited about knitting because it's cold outside, and so it's super fun. And yeah, I hope you have a really good day, and we'll see you all again next time.